Summary of Generating Buy-in. Mastering the Language of Leadership. By Mark S. Walton. Why buy-in? The President of the United States cannot wage war all alone. The new CEO of a disgraced company cannot restore the stock price without the support of Wall Street. The Vice President of a division needs help to make a new product launch a success. No one can be a leader without followers. The most important leadership skill is the ability to inspire others, to get them to understand, make a commitment and actively support the mission. New organizational models put a premium on teamwork and collaboration. The vertical hierarchy is, if not dead, certainly diminished. Dow Chemical Chairman Bill Stavropoulos said, "There's nothing you can force people to do. Now, people have to believe, and they have to believe in you." The arts of persuasion and storytelling have been part of the human heritage since prehistory. But it was the Greek philosophers and rhetoricians who first analyzed and systematized these arts. In 450 AD, Aristotle said, "It is impossible even to think without a mental picture." Usually, people link our mental pictures to each other in stories. You tend to remember not just one picture, but also the picture that came before it and the picture that came after it. These pictures form stories. Think, for example, of the most perfect summer day in your life. You will probably remember not just the weather but also something that happened to you on that day, a story. The most effective stories for the purpose of generating buy-in are the ones that cause people to imagine a better tomorrow, a promised land of milk and honey on the other side of the desert. The most ineffective stories focus on the desert and its unpleasantness. The 1980 presidential election provides a clear example. President Jimmy Carter harangued Americans for their crisis of confidence. He said, "For the first time in history, a majority of our people believe that the next 5 years will be worse than the past 5 years." He called on people to face the truth. By contrast, challenger Ronald Reagan told a story of a positive future. His campaign theme was "Morning in America." He made strong statements full of confidence in American strength and potential, such as, "It is time to reawaken this industrial giant." He also said, "When action is required to preserve our national security, we will act. We will maintain sufficient strength to prevail." No wonder he won by a landslide. The same year that Reagan was inaugurated, Jack F. Welch Jr. ascended to the CEO slot at General Electric, GE. In terms of communication style, Welch had a great deal in common with Reagan, not in terms of delivery, of course. Reagan was a professional actor, while Welch had difficulty speaking and even stuttered. But, like Reagan, Welch devised a strategic story that said if General Electric accepted the pain of layoffs and restructuring, it could be the winningest company in the world. Welch told this story from his first day on the job and continued to tell it until he retired. He never changed the story, no matter what. And it worked. Welch accomplished a great deal as the leader of GE, but the most important thing he accomplished was to get buy-in from his followers. Without buy-in, none of the rest of his achievements would have been possible. What leads to buy-in? The strategic story is the most important factor in gaining buy-in. Such stories have a single purpose: to advance a strategy. Why do you need a story? Shouldn't people be able to see the logic of the right course of action? Perhaps. You may be able to appeal to their intellect by outlining the costs and benefits of a strategy, but that is no way to win hearts. Without winning hearts, you cannot get the level of commitment you need to overcome tough obstacles and stay the course. Stories appeal to the emotions. The strategic story doesn't have to be long. In fact, it may be better if it's not. Leave some room for your followers' imaginations to work. Here are 3 very effective but short strategic stories. 1. President Clinton's 1996 campaign story cast him at a bridge to the 21st century. The story was so strong and so positive that it eclipsed evidence of his personnel failings and allowed him to win election by a landslide. 2. The Motel 6 hotel chain tells a tale of warmth, security and hominess with its one-line story, "We'll leave the light on for you." 3. The U.S. Navy tells a story in 7 words, "It's not a job, it's an adventure." This story inspires thousands of recruits each year. Storytelling and leadership. The strategic story isn't about the storyteller. It's about the people who hear the story. It isn't about the leader, but rather about the followers. People need to be able to put themselves in the story and participate in the positive future. Your story must find the common ground between what you want and what your audience wants. If you clean up your room, we'll go to McDonald's is a strategic story that has worked with many children. Take these steps to craft your strategic story. Decide what you want your hearers to do. What do you want them to buy into? Identify the positive future that you want them to see. Develop a 3-part storyline that shows the audience 3 ways to get what they want by doing what you want. Your story must convince them that your agenda meets their needs. Blow the trumpets and call everyone to action. Storytelling in the 21st century. The sales manager at a pharmaceutical company had a real problem. A big patent had expired, and generic drug makers were attacking the company's most important market. Sales representatives and sales manager had built their careers around the commissions they earned on this product. Suddenly, the gravy train hit a brick wall. At the annual sales meeting, people gathered in small groups in the corridors to exchange information about headhunters, job leads, and opportunities with competing firms. The new CEO was scheduled to address the group. He had already begun to take an unorthodox but highly effective approach to dealing with this dire situation. First, he defined his objective. He decided that he needed his salespeople to stay with the company and work harder than ever. When he stood up to address the crowd, he gained credibility by admitting that things looked bad. Second, he promised a positive future, saying, "The future is what we all want it to be." Third, he addressed the 3 items that were important to his audience. 1. A rosy picture of the future. He assured them that new blockbuster drugs were coming out of the firm's pipeline. He told the audience that the pipeline was strong and he provided specific evidence and examples. He offered detailed descriptions of new drugs under development and defined their importance in dollar terms. 2. Financial security. He promised that they would be able to make good money while waiting for the new drugs. He promised more investment in sales training and support, and a better compensation package that would allow them to earn more money even though they had lost their best-selling product to generic competitors. 3. Recognition. He stroked their egos. Salespeople like to think they are winners who are associated with a winning company. He told a story about a hospital administrator in California who had praised a sales representative for service that went far beyond the norm. He singled out the representative for special recognition. Shortly afterward, the company announced her promotion to district manager. The CEO issued a rousing call to arms. "Let's build that future we all want," he said. "Do I have your commitment going forward?" He got the commitment he called for. Even though the company had lost its strongest product, it prospered. Indeed, it did better than ever. The CEO eventually retired with accolades from his industry peers, co-workers, and employees. Think 3. What is it about the number 3? Many things come in threes. Think of earth, wind, and fire, or red, white, and blue. Wherever you look you see threes. The Greeks had 3 fates, one to spin the thread of life, one to draw out the thread, and one to cut it. Baseball has 3 strikes. Great plays have 3 acts. Stories have 3 parts, a beginning, a middle, and an end. To communicate effectively, think in units of 3. In the story above, the pharmaceutical CEO offered 3 targeted chapters in his strategic story, to convince his audience that they would get the 3 things they wanted most: assurance of new blockbusters, assurance of earning good money in the meantime, and ego strokes. 1 is not enough. 5 or 10 or a dozen are too many. People like the number 3, and have from time immemorial. Great communicators live by the rule of 3. When things go bad. Intel's great crisis took place in 1994, when engineers found a flaw in the Pentium chip. Calls swamped Intel headquarters. CEO Andy Grove told his people to answer the calls by pointing out that nothing was perfect, that the glitch could become a problem only in the most high-level computations, and that the average user might expect a problem once in 27,000 years. Grove may have been a genius, but he missed the point. On the plus side, he observed the rule of 3. On the minus side, he failed to address the customer's concerns and priorities. They didn't want to know the statistical probability of a chip failure. They wanted absolute assurance that they wouldn't have a problem. Dissatisfied with what they were hearing from Intel, customers called the media. The resulting publicity hit Intel's stock hard, and led the company to suspend all shipments of the new chip. Intel brought in expert communicators to craft a new strategic story, which had these components. A buy-in objective, to keep Intel customers loyal. A positive future, Intel will put customers before short-term profits. A 3-part storyline. First, Intel will replace any Pentium chip for any customer who requests a replacement. Second, Intel will offer free service to replace the chips. Third, Intel, as always, will back its products 100% and will fix any problems. A call to arms: keep buying Intel inside. The best way to deal with a crisis is to focus on a positive future outlined in a strategic story. John Sidgmore took on the difficult assignment of serving as interim CEO of WorldCom after the disgrace of Bernard Ebius. Sidgmore gave a press briefing at the National Press Club in Washington. He understood the importance of a strategic story and how to structure it. He used the components listed above and adapted them to his strategic needs. State a buy-in objective: keep key stakeholders involved with WorldCom. Show a positive future, he promised: we can work together to build the future. Use a 3-part storyline. First, he said, we will be transparent and hide nothing, a statement he supported with evidence of accounting reforms. Second, he promised great customer service, a pledge he supported with details about new service initiatives. Third, he said the company would head in a fresh direction. To prove it, he announced new leadership and a new business plan. Issue a call to arms: please be patient with us and give us time. Strategic stories are the most powerful tools in a leader's kit. A great story can make a great leader. In fact, an old Native American saying claims that those who tell the stories rule the world. Leaders need to remember that the best stories address the needs and priorities of the audience, and they must provide real evidence and examples to make their promises credible.